Yeah, absolutely, Mike. They can take the wind from the radars pointing at it at different directions and use that to get the full horizontal and vertical wind fields, the updrafts within the storm. They have multiple radars. Some of them are going to get the tornado structure. They have several Doppler radars that can measure very, very fine scales. They have some of the radars that can measure debris versus hail versus raindrops and different sizes of raindrops, and can measure that within the storm and relate that to the rear flank downdraft and perhaps why it was warm or cool or lukewarm. And so just a tremendous data set here, combining that data with balloon data that they send up, the stick nets, the pods, a tremendous data set. That's why they have such an armada of vehicles, because they want to get all types of measurements, the comprehensive data set that no previous experiment has been able to get. And that comprehensive data set allows you to answer lots of questions about tornadoes and how they form.
Hey, if I look post-storm, Dr. Forbes, if I look back to the west or the northwest here, you can almost now see clearing in the skies. We've got wind, but appears now much cooler air. We've got the wind in behind and a much more stable atmosphere in behind the storm itself.
Yes, indeed. The storm has passed now, and you're in the rain-cooled dome of air in behind it, and so indeed it's probably heading off toward your east or your east-northeast at this point.
Dr. Forbes, when you analyze this currently on radar, do you anticipate there being any re-strengthening of this storm? Could there be the possibility of yet another tornado?
Yeah, it certainly looks like there could. Can we go to our 3D radar or one of our radars, and we'll take a look at it? A few minutes ago we took a look at it. It certainly did have still had an appendage coming out the southwest side. It still looked pretty impressive. It was still a supercell thunderstorm from radar vantage point, and so we are still having the possibilities of this storm produce another tornado. There still is a tornado warning in effect for another half hour, for especially for and maybe some new warnings that have come out. We have a tornado warning now for Sheridan County, Bucks Butte County in Nebraska. These are both in Nebraska, and still for Banner County in Nebraska. So still the possibility of this moving, this tornado, this storm producing additional tornadoes as it heads eastward.
Dr. Forbes, I want you to look at one more thing here. I look off behind me here, and what looks to be, I mean, can you tell by, and it looks like it's dissipated somewhat, can you tell by the color of shafts that fall down from the clouds what it actually is? Because I see some bright white, what looks to be me now, hail shafts. It may be the sun angle, but can you tell by color if it contains hail or if it contains rain?
It's a little bit difficult to tell. Sometimes if it's very, very bright white with the sun shining on it, that will be some hail. But I couldn't tell from the view there with absolute certainty.
Yeah, it looks like it could be very difficult. Maybe a little bit down closer to the ground where you see the green grass here. I can see from my vantage point a little bit more white. To me, that looks like it could be a little bit more hail, although as this passed by us, we didn't feel any hail at all. Everything that we saw once this came by was all rain. So we're now in some much more stable air, we're in some much colder air, windier air. So at this point, now the storm has passed, we wouldn't expect any more severe weather to come our way. But you have truly witnessed something remarkable here live on the Weather Channel, a complete formation and dissipation of a tornado. Initially started out as a large supercell thunderstorm, a right turner in Goshen County, Wyoming. As it came towards us, what you ended up seeing were multiple funnels dropping down and then lifting again 3 separate times until ultimately we had one large wedge tornado on the ground for roughly 25 minutes. Toward the end of the life cycle of that tornado, what we ended up seeing was more of a horizontal tilt to it, where the base of the tornado and the top of the tornado were completely removed from each other. It was not completely vertical like we saw with the wedge tornado, and then it dissipated. Again, on the ground for about 25 minutes before lifting. Tornado warnings have been issued for multiple counties, including Goshen County, Wyoming, and for Laramie County, Wyoming. The tornado passing significantly east of Cheyenne, so there was no immediate danger for the residents of Cheyenne. And you can see the area where we are, is completely wide open range and farmland, a completely unpopulated area absolutely perfect sampling for Vortex 2. They've completely deployed on this, and some of the most valuable data that may ever be collected on a tornado was done tonight within the last hour with 10 different mobile Doppler radars and ground deployments and mobile deployments. Truly remarkable what has happened this evening. Obviously, I'm almost speechless as to what we saw. Our vantage point was absolutely ideal. The storm was at times rain-wrapped, but for most of the life of that tornado, we could see it perfectly clear without any obstruction of rain, without any obstruction of hail, as it moved slowly towards us. It was not a fast mover, and again, that's one of the ideal things for Vortex 2. They're looking for wide open space and a slow moving tornado. The slower it moves, the better data sampling they can get, Dr. Forbes, and I've got to say, I'm sure they are ecstatic right now with the data they've collected.
Well, Mike, I think it's safe to say the long wait for Vortex 2 is over. It's a tremendous success today.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that, Dr. Forbes. This has been truly remarkable what we've witnessed, and now I look around me and I see some sunshine off to the west. The wind has dissipated quite a bit, and again, when you look at the open range here, it was off to our west here, which is where the tornado formed. It was exactly this location where we watched it push its way eastbound. Now, with that tornado, there are a lot of high-tension power lines. Not one single time did we see any flash of electricity. So I'm estimating at this point, Dr. Forbes, I'm guessing it really didn't even hit anything. We didn't see any large pieces of debris. We didn't see any power flashes. I've got to say, a win-win for everybody here. For at least
We may have lost Mike's audio. So certainly, indeed, a win-win situation. As he was saying, for Vortex 2 as well as for the people, is because we watched the entire life cycle of the tornado. We never saw anything that looked like terrible debris that this had caused some kind of destruction. No power line flashes in the area that he was in. So it seems to be the tornado did its thing in the best possible location in terms of the public safety as well.
All right, Dr. Forbes and Mike Bettis giving us live analysis of a tornado on air, caught on tape, intercepted here on the Weather Channel. We are going to have continuing coverage as Mike Bettis continues to hunt. The hunt is not over as we head on into the evening hours. If you have questions, Twitter, Facebook, email us. We have more questions. Dr. Forbes will analyze what we have seen. Again, there's a live picture of Mike Bettis. That is his producer. This is what we saw earlier today, the total life cycle of a tornado. You are looking at the beginnings when it touched down. That's Dr. Forbes analyzing it a little bit earlier. So, what did we see? What did we just experience? Did we learn anything new? We're going to answer all of these questions here. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back.